Hello, everyone. It's George Gvazava again from the podcast Searching for Satoshi with George Gvazava. We are here on our next episode with Arjun Kalsy. I hope I've pronounced your name correctly, from Polygon Network, who is a vice president of growth at Polygon. And I hope that we're going to have a really interesting talk about different crypto and blockchain related stuff. So, Arjun, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you for having me. And yes, you got my name right.
Okay, that's great. So, Arjun, first we generally start with tell us briefly about your experience, how you ended up in crypto, how you ended up in Polygon, what was before, what plans do you have, and so on.
Sure thing. So my crypto journey started in 2016. So at the time, I was working with an IT services company, and we were researching these sort of new technologies, which would end up becoming like big business units tomorrow. So that was the kind of mindset. And so I was researching AI, machine learning. I was looking at all the different things which are happening out there, and then I came across blockchain technology, and then I read the white paper, the Bitcoin white paper, and I immediately kind of became sort of obsessed with that idea. Because it was such a such a shock to my senses, in a way that it was a completely different way of thinking of decentralization of sort of something which is more engaging of the community, something which has a consensus mechanism. So it was just something so exciting, and I kind of realized that this is something I really wanted to do, and that's when I started researching it. We sort of set up that business unit, etc. Post that, I took a bit of a detour. I was working with another AI company in the computer vision space, which is again something I found super interesting. And we were sort of building technology for self-driving vehicles. So I was doing that, and then one day I was sort of standing in the line at the shopping market, right? So I was at a supermarket, and I was standing in the line, and I got a call. And I typically would not maybe pick up like a unknown number, but I picked up this call, and it turned out to be from Polygon. And it was like, we went through your experience, etc. Let's have a short call. So I had a call with the founders, etc. And then that's when the mainnet was also going live for Polygon, and there was a need to build sort of the ecosystem team, like somebody who could come in, build out the teams, hire the right people, and then sort of help start building the ecosystem. So that's kind of how I landed up at Polygon. So I've been keeping track of course, all the major startups in that space ever since like 2016, 17. So that's kind of how I started. And yeah, it's been a pretty crazy journey ever since then. 1 year has passed. We've gone, I think, from literally when I joined, I think we were like 50 million like market cap to about a $14 billion market cap today, in just one short year. So and now with 1,200 plus apps, we have over like close to 500,000 users, daily active users, which is climbing week on week, month on month. So it's been a very exciting time. The team has grown. So I think when I joined, it was just about 30 people total, and now we have like 160. So it's pretty amazing.
Yes, actually, Polygon's growth, which was formerly Matic, it was like, I think, exponential. I think lots of people in the community, actually from the trading side as well, made some money, who were believing in the Polygon from the early days, I guess. And it has shown really exponential growth. And it's good that you touched that, and thank you for talking about your experience. As this podcast is also kind of partly educational, and it is not aimed at tech savvy people, me myself as well, I'm not a tech savvy person as well. How would you explain like what is Polygon, and how is it different from others like, I don't know, Polkadot, Avalanche, and other networks? Like it does something similar, but there are still some differences. So it would be great to hear from you firsthand.
Perfect, sure. So let me give you an explanation about what exactly is Polygon. So Polygon is an Ethereum scaling solution aggregator, right? And to understand what I mean by scaling solution aggregator, like scaling solution aggregator is you need to sort of like I need to maybe start the story back in 2017. So back in 2017, there was this CryptoKitties episode. Now, if you remember, there was this very cute cat game, which ended up clogging the Ethereum network, right? Because it became so popular. And that's when the serious conversations around Ethereum scaling started, right? How do you create scalability for Ethereum blockchain? When you will have hundreds of thousands of users, many such games live, etc. And 2017 is also when Polygon, which was erstwhile called Matic network, was launched, right? And the objective was to solve some of the scalability problems of Ethereum, right? Which were basically high cost transactions and low throughput. So what we kind of realized is that if the throughput can be much higher and if you can reduce the cost, then you will make blockchain technology more accessible. The UX will be a lot better, and that's when you can start building like enterprise grade applications and things like that. Something which which will have hundreds of thousands of users, etc. So this is kind of the birthplace of Matic network at the time. And but if and we built the solution we built at the time was a proof of stake blockchain, which is a hybrid plasma proof of stake blockchain. So you have Ethereum and then you have another blockchain like parallel to it. This blockchain is very fast. It has a 2-second block time. It has very low transaction fee, something like 0.0004 dollars or something like that. And then what we do is that every, let's say, 256 blocks, we will like place a checkpoint on Ethereum, right? So what we will do is every 256 blocks, we will merkle root the transactions and place a checkpoint on Ethereum. And the reason we do that is so that all the transactions which are happening on the Polygon or the Matic chain are provable on Ethereum, right? So it gives you an extra layer of security. So you have a chain which has 100 validators already, right? A very decentralized chain, which already has very high security and has like $2 billion locked into it. But by checkpointing onto Ethereum, like which is the ultimate security, you've created like a dual security model, right? And what we felt is this was good because you solve like with this kind of an architecture, you solve throughput, you solve cost, and you are also able to bring like a very high level of security into sort of the ecosystem. So this is kind of how the design was thought of, and we executed this. And of course, the chain is like very popular, and like I said, 5-6 million transactions on a daily basis, like 5x of Ethereum. However, like if you look at what's happening today, right? Today, the conversation when you talk about Ethereum scaling is around, let's say, roll-ups and other kinds of technology like optimistic roll-ups, ZK roll-ups. So it is also clear that even when you look at scaling solutions, the future is going to be multi-chain, right? There are multiple scaling solutions. Each scaling solution has its own pros and cons, like every technology has. So as an infrastructure provider, what we felt it was our responsibility is to be able to put all the different options on the table so that the developer and the user can decide what's best, right? And whichever chain they want to use, they can do that. And all the other tooling to connect the chains, bridges, etc. We'll build all of that, and then it becomes like one ecosystem with multiple scaling solutions. This entire ecosystem is governed by one token, right? So you don't have to skip like different ecosystems and with different token economics and manage all of that mess. One token controlling this entire ecosystem. The validators are sort of validating all of these different chains, and yes, and thereby the developer needs to come to just one place where we basically aggregate all of the different types of Ethereum scaling solutions into like sort of into one sort of, you could say, structure. And this structure is governed by one token. And that is kind of what we feel is the future of scalability, where you keep Ethereum in the middle and then you sort of build this scalability solution around it. And why now the question comes of when you said compared to Polkadot, Solana, etc. So here is where you need to understand the concept of layer 1 and layer 2 kind of blockchain, right? So Polygon is a layer 2 kind of solution, right? Or a scalability solution. So you have Ethereum and it is built on top of Ethereum, as one might say, right? And that's what Polygon is. Polkadot, Solana, etc., or even Avalanche are layer 1 blockchains. So what they've done is they've designed a completely new concept, right? And they're trying to sort of solve, again, they're also trying to solve the same problems of mass adoption and scalability, but like with a different kind of concept. Why we went for building a scalability solution and not our own layer 1 like Polkadot or Solana is because what we've seen with Ethereum is that Ethereum, when we analyzed all the different ecosystems, we kind of realized that Ethereum in many ways is the best ecosystem. And there are reasons for that. It's number one, definitely is the philosophy of Ethereum, right? So Ethereum has this philosophy of subtraction, which you can read about, which basically talks about like the path to true scalability comes when you start to relinquish control, rather than trying to control systems. So typically in Web 2 thinking, when a company becomes big, they try to control everything, and you have IP and you're trying to control everything. And the more you try to control things, it sort of has a negative impact on your ability to scale and your ability to serve the community. When you let go of control is when true scalability comes. So if you look at how Ethereum works, the core team works only on building the chain. Everything else like MetaMask or RPC services like Infura has been built by the community. Different teams build different things. So this kind of philosophy, coupled with the massive traction which Ethereum has with its number of users, its tried and tested code, all the different tooling, right? Which for all the other chains has to be reinvented altogether. Like Ethereum has network effects which have been built over the past 8 years. Also, Ethereum as a chain has been very, very robust. The chain has been forked a few times to get certain improvements into the chain, but the chain never like stopped working or crashed or something like that. And when we looked at this kind of infrastructure, we realized that this ecosystem has something special. And what we should try to do is we should try to build something which further extends the capabilities of this ecosystem while inheriting some of the best aspects. So by inheriting the best aspects, what I mean is that the Polygon ecosystem is EVM compatible. So anything which works on Ethereum works on Polygon. Basically, we use the same Ethereum virtual machine, as one might say. So the code is literally pick and drop. All the different services which are active on Ethereum, like your data services like the Graph, or Oracle services like Chainlink, all of that you can use on Polygon at a fraction of the cost. So all the tooling is available. The environment is the same. We use the same ERC style assets. So we didn't create our own token standard, like maybe like, let's say BSC or Tron or something like that. And we wanted like an ecosystem which is fast, inexpensive to use, and is very familiar, not just for the developer, but for users as well. Like your asset types are the same. Right. And what we felt is that if we can build something which is easy to build on, easy for the users, fast, great UX, then you have a shot at mass adoption. Right. That is how you can really solve that riddle, right? Like that basically that panel discussion which happens every quarter, like getting the next million users into blockchain. Like how are you going to do that? Like these are the building blocks, or these are the problems you need to solve. So this is, I would say, a long-winded explanation to what is Polygon and why we have built what we have built. Like what are the problems you're trying to solve, and sort of the history of what it is. And that's why we named ourselves Polygon as well. Because when we became an aggregator, we kind of realized that the name Polygon is very fitting, because mathematically, Polygon is an n-sided figure which can fit any shape or size. And that is the kind of flexibility we want to bring for the developer and the user. So yeah.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. And I think I've heard the story about why the name changed, and it's really great. It really makes sense. And I liked your idea of the future as well, which actually was kind of my next question, which you have already answered. So thank you for that. So where you see that this multi-chain future going to be there, and there's going to be kind of one coin that will represent kind of, if we take the reference from the Lord of the Rings, one ring to rule them all, right? So it's gonna be something like that, and that's great. And the main idea that you described, that Polygon was able to increase the scalability problem of Ethereum without sacrificing security, even strengthening it. Actually, it's really, I think, game-changing, and it's really nice. And I think your explanation from firsthand will be very, very useful for our listeners. And thank you for that. So, like my next question then will be, like, this question comes either the first one, either the last one, or in the middle. So I think it's a good time to ask you this question now. This is, who do you think Satoshi Nakamoto is? So this is a question that we ask to everyone. Is it he? Is it she? Is it they? Who do you think? Yeah, it is.
Wow, I don't. So the jury is out on who Satoshi Nakamoto is. Like some people say Elon Musk is Satoshi Nakamoto. Well, who knows? Like personally, I don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. I really can't guess. I've read so many of these stories, and so many frauds have come forward saying I am Satoshi Nakamoto and all of that. But what I find very interesting about the question is that the fact that this entire ecosystem was built by on the basis of a white paper written by an anonymous person, right, gives you like a preview or an insight into the philosophy or rather the thought process behind blockchain technology, right? In blockchain, we always say one thing, right? We say code is law, right? The person doesn't matter. Like code is law. If it's written in the blockchain, if the smart contract is written, then that's it. And that's the ultimate arbitration. And that's what I find interesting about blockchain. Like I feel that while it would be amazing to figure out who Satoshi is, in the larger scheme of things, it actually doesn't matter. What matters is the white paper. The white paper became sort of the law or the foundation for this entire ecosystem. And this, in many ways, the fact that we don't know who it is, but we have a trillion, like multiple $1 trillion industry built on this like one PDF document, kind of tells you, like explains to you how blockchain thinking has to be, that code is law and it doesn't matter who or what. So I think this is, like, for me, the most interesting insight when I read about
Great
this.
answer. Great answer. I've never heard that kind of explanation, but that's actually a great answer. Yeah, 8-page document or 9-page document has created a flourished ecosystem, and people around it are still building. And I think we are still really, really early adopters of this technology and this ecosystem itself. And I think that more and more is kind of coming along the way. But yeah, like I've read that Satoshi Nakamoto, like, at least the wallets that are attributed to him now hold has a wealth of 20th person in the world with the wealth. So if he wants to come out, it's really easy, right? It's like he must have the private key of the Genesis block, and that's it. We're gonna know that it's
or it's possible that he has burned the private key as well. So
yeah,
that's also possible. So yeah, I mean, it would definitely be. I think if the time to reveal himself is there, it is now. With all that money. But yeah, no, I'm just kidding. So yeah.
Okay, great. So in that case, I would like you to maybe speak more about how do you see crypto space ecosystem in like 10 years? I understand that you think it's multi-chain. I understand there's going to be lots of innovation, but what do you think going to be like a next game changer? And maybe also you could talk about the very important points in the past that has brought us here. Like first was, yes, Bitcoin white papers. The second was, I don't know, a hack of empty jokes maybe. The third was the creation of Ethereum. But like, what do you think in the meantime, like NFTs, gaming, like how we came where we are, like important points, and what do you think gonna be important in the next 10 years?
So very, very interesting questions. I think some of these things you can only judge in retrospect. Looking back, I think when Ethereum was formed, I'm sure even Vitalik maybe didn't realize where that we would be where we are today. But I definitely feel the NFT movement has caught everyone by surprise, including Vitalik, and he admitted so, that this was the most surprising thing for him, because we've been reading about color tokens right from 2016, 17, when the first blockchain concepts were exposed. And blockchain, when the technology came out, was always very synonymous with the finance industry, right? So it was like assumed that this would be a game changer in finance, and there's traceability, and then people thought of other use cases. But this NFT use case is in my opinion a big game changer, and I'll tell you why. When we look back in time, we will see this NFT movement as a big game changer, because NFT has the power to get like people into blockchain who would ideally not look at technology, or ideally are not very, let's say, technical, or let's say maybe even technology oriented. Like for example, what NFTs is doing is getting content creators like artists, right? Is getting like musicians, gamers, right? They're getting categories of people to interact with the blockchain, like people who typically would not, like, let's say, be very, let's say, who typically you would not say would be, let's say, very accepting or understanding of this, of this technology. So that's why I feel that this NFT movement has the power to bring in those millions of users, right? And this essentially will change the face of blockchain technology forever. So that's why I'm very excited about this NFT concept, because it brings in an entirely new kind of user. into the blockchain fold, right? And these users are now understanding tokenization, right? They are getting like tokens in their hand. Like you take an artist, you put some crypto in his hand. The first question he's going to ask is, okay, what else can I do with it? Right? And that's when the DeFi journey starts and things like that. So I think looking back, this NFT movement is going to be a game changer. Whether the NFT, the crypto punks become useless or whatever happens, like if the values dump. But even when we look back, like this is what I feel will be game changing about NFTs. The fact that it is able to bring in a class or a set of users who otherwise would not be interacting with the blockchain. So this is in terms of what we might look back upon. You talked about 10 years. So 10 years is when we need to like maybe think about the macro picture of things. So I think what has become clear, even with now Facebook becoming like a metaverse kind of company, is that the future of the economy is going to be a tokenized economy, right? So tokenization is going to basically change everything. Why? Because tokenization has the power to take any asset and make it liquid, right? And the moment you make an asset liquid, now it can be traded like across the world, right? And because we have internet now, you can trade, and all of this is peer to peer without any central authority. Right. So this is like, in my opinion, a magic pill for like, let's say, exponential commerce, right? Which is peer-to-peer driven, community driven. And this is kind of what I feel in 10 years from now, where, almost everything, the economy will be synonymous with tokenization. People will be used to dealing with different types of tokens. In terms of technology, there may be some consolidation in terms of blockchain ecosystems. So if I were to again talk macro picture, if you look at different blockchain ecosystems, think of them like islands, right? And when you bridge all of these islands, which is happening now with all of these different bridges, the community over a period of time, like if you were to visually think about it, the community over a period of time will sort of gravitate, towards this one like sort of island or this one kind of ecosystem, which represents their interests the most, right? So while we have several different ecosystems, and in the future also we may have some, as time progresses, it will sort of start to coalesce towards these maybe 2 or 3 dominant ecosystems in the future. Like that's how I see it. So instead of having maybe 10 or 12 or 15 chains, you might have maybe 2 or 3 dominant chains, and then other chains who are essentially like sub chains of these chains. So something like that. So that's kind of what I feel will happen. And like I said, from economy perspective, and then you will start taking the steps in blockchain technology, in like crypto, as one might say. So those steps being blockchain technology, crypto as an asset, like a trading asset, etc., like it is today, and then crypto as a legal tender, right? So if you look at blockchain in general, these are the 3 like major, you could say, points of discussion, where the technology, how it can change the world, crypto as an asset, and NFTs as an asset, etc., so tokens as an asset, and then the tokens becoming legal tender, which essentially is also, in my opinion, the future. The governments also feel the same way with CBDCs, etc. Now, what is going to be the breakthrough technology of the future? So in my opinion, zero knowledge technology is going to usher in an entirely new era of, number one, privacy, and number two, scalability in blockchain space, both of which are missing today. So the biggest problem with blockchain and transparency is that while transparency is great when it comes to certain things, like it does not always it does not always fit every use cases. There are things in our life which are private to us, right? And which we do not want shared out there. Right. And this is kind of what has been this dichotomous situation where you want privacy, but then you also want transparency. So how do you kind of solve the two? Right. And have both somehow. And this is kind of where zero knowledge technology sort of comes in, right? So the ability to prove things without having to really sort of ask for the answer, right, is in my opinion truly exceptional. And again, it's a long conversation about how it works, etc. But so zero knowledge technology when it comes to privacy. So that's one. When it comes to scalability, so using something like zero knowledge roll up technology, right? And how to understand this technology is that, don't imagine. So if you imagine Ethereum like a computer, right? So imagine Ethereum like a computer, right? Not like blockchain, like a computer. And like a computer, it has computation and it has memory, right? The memory being the blockchain, right? And you have computation. So whenever you execute a smart contract, whenever you send somebody money, like some computation is happening, right? Some values are being plus and minus, and somebody is doing that. So what a blockchain essentially is like a world computer, right? At a macro sense. And any computer at the end of the day is limited by 2 things, right? By memory and by computation, right? So better, when do we say one computer is better than the other? More memory, more computation. It typically is like how it is. And then, and that's how you've seen computers, mobile phones become more powerful. With zero knowledge rollups, like what the way blockchains are structured today is that you have computation and memory within the same layer. So you have Ethereum. Within Ethereum, you have the blockchain and you have the computation, right? If and thereby you are sort of, you could say, constrained by what is possible within this particular, like, let's say, world computer. But suppose you could like take some of these problems off chain, right? So for example, if you look at Ethereum as, and you consider Ethereum as on chain transactions, which is on the on, and then you consider new blockchains as, let's say, off chain, which is also blockchains but not Ethereum, right? Off chain transactions. If you can take computation and memory away from the chain, right? Do the computation and memory outside of the chain, right? And then just use the chain to put the final result, right? So currently the blockchain has all the memory and all the computation, right? Imagine you took the computation and memory outside of this blockchain, and in this blockchain you only put the final result, like only the answers. You don't have to put the question and the answer, and sort of the entire explanation. You only put the answer. So you then are able to create an extremely high degree of scalability, because by taking computation out of this construct of Ethereum and doing it somewhere else, you can scale it there. And by taking memory outside of this construct, which is Ethereum, you can continue to scale it there, right? So you can scale computation and memory separately, and you can reserve Ethereum for the answers, because Ethereum is the ultimate proof, right? The ultimate. And this is kind of why they say that Ethereum is the ultimate settlement layer. So instead of doing everything on Ethereum, you do that stuff outside and you use Ethereum for settlements. So this is, in my opinion, the future of what scalability is, by taking computation and memory outside of this construct of Ethereum and using Ethereum as a settlement layer. If you can do this, and so this would mean infinite scalability, because now you're not constrained by Ethereum. So this is the path to like futures, like what is ultimate scalability in blockchains, where blockchains become as good as maybe cloud computing, or at least on par somewhere there. And this is what zero knowledge rollup technology, this rollup technology, and specifically ZK rollups is poised to do. So ZK rollups will be able to take, basically is how you take computation and memory outside of the construct of the blockchain, and then reserve the blockchain only for the final answers of all the questions. So this is something we are very bullish on. So we have spent, like, I would say we've already acquired one startup, which is Hermes. So Polygon, Hermes had built this very interesting ZK rollup chain. We bought that company for $250 million. We have earmarked $1 billion in total for acquiring more ZK companies. Incidentally, we have actually already spent that money as well. We'll be coming out to the announcements. We've acquired many more teams and startups in this space. And we are kind of in many ways all in on the ZK technology, because what we felt is that how you need to solve for what you're solving today is you need to figure out what is the ultimate solution and then work backwards, right? And try to get, so that you can build a path to getting there. If the ultimate solution, when you look at the research, is ZK rollup technology, then it is our responsibility to ensure that we put every resource possible towards achieving this outcome, which will mean ultimate scalability for blockchains. So this is what I feel is going to be the next big breakthrough in blockchain technology, like decentralized and highly scalable ZK rollup technology, which will usher in an entirely new level of scalability when it comes to blockchain. This is kind of when you can have stuff like this on your phone, etc., and make it as responsive as you could say Web 2 is today. So that's like my view. I hope it didn't become too technical and I was able to explain it.
Yeah, no, that's. I think the explanation was quite clear, and even for non-tech savvy people, it was quite clear what you're saying, and I really like the idea of this technology of doing, like, putting all the heavy lifting outside of chain and just recording the results on chain. That really means that you were using the on chain like technology we're using, like for example Ethereum's, only for the very, very, very final results, and you were doing all the heavy work outside of. So you actually let the technology to flourish even more, so to say. And the explanation was really, really understandable, and I think great for our listeners as well. And I think we need to move to our maybe last question. It's not a question, actually. It's like, what would be your advice to the newcomers in the crypto and blockchain space? I don't know, 1, 2, 3 pieces of advice that you would give to our listeners who are just, tuning in and want to make the first step, but are a little bit afraid to do so.
So I think the first thing I would tell any newcomer is to, come like with a curious mind or that curious kind of concept, because there is so much to learn here. So don't go with that mindset that I need to understand blockchain technology. It's infinite. Like it's so much complexity. So go with the mindset that I'm curious about this and I want to learn more. And you will begin to go down, this rabbit hole. And how do you do that? Right. So let's say I have the curiosity and I want to learn. Like, how do I do that? The number one I would say is be a part of the communities. Right. So typical advice, what people say is read the white paper. I would say maybe don't do that. Like that's maybe because if you read the white paper, then there's a 70% chance you will not get into blockchain because it's complicated. Like, it is. I'm a computer science major, etc. I had to read it a few times, to really internalize the concept. The best way is to be a part of the community. And how I say this is that you don't necessarily need to know how an internal combustion engine works to drive a car, right? And be a part of the communities, understand what are NFTs, what are people doing there, look at the popular platforms like OpenSea, and look at like borrowing and lending, for example, financial services on blockchain. Look at Aave. These big protocols have great documentation where there's A to Z, like, sort of, let's say, from beginner to advanced level information on how you need to, solve, or how blockchain is solving these problems. And I think so that for me is the number one part, which is like, be a part of the community, follow like all of these communities on Discord, Twitter, be active there, be a part of the discussion. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You'll be surprised how open this community is compared to, maybe like I've seen on Stack Overflow, sometimes, people ask like maybe a silly question and then people, start jumping on why are you asking this and all that. Web3 is not like that. Like everybody's a noob here, right? And including me, like everybody's a noob, and you can ask any question and you'll be surprised how accepting this community is. So be a part of the community, read the documentation of popular protocols, like some of the big ones, because some of them have excellent information. OpenSea has excellent like resources on what are NFTs, how, they're being used. Follow popular podcasts, right? And follow popular reading material like Bankless is one very good one by Ryan Sean Adams. And then and follow podcasts as well, where people come and talk about technology and explain it. Like, for example, the one we are on right now, which will give you like a more sort of an insight into not just what is blockchain but how, right? And the most important question, which is why. And if you just spend maybe 3-4 months doing this, you will begin to understand why there is so much excitement about this technology, and why this will change the world as we see it. So that's kind of how I would say is the best approach towards blockchain.
Great.
And after
advice.
all of this, read the white paper. So
so then you'll get the first 3 and then read the white paper. Okay, great, nice. Okay, great. Thank you, Arjun, for your time, for your really interesting insight, ideas, discussion. I think it's really valuable. And what you said about the community in this space is I totally agree. Like everyone is very open. Everyone is wanting to shake hands, share knowledge, and so on. And I think that this really makes, how to say, it's really different from a lot of stuff outside of this ecosystem. And that's why I think the growth in the last already maybe 13 years, right? 13 years has been really huge. And I think lots of people have benefited it, but it's still in early stage. There are still people who have no idea what it is, and who are just, have heard the buzzword, but they didn't know what to do with them. So I think that the more simplistic, the more user-friendly networks and protocols become, I think the mass adoption is imminent, and it's going to happen sooner rather than later, right? So thank you, Arjun. Thank you very much again. And I wish you all the best. Wish you all success in your work, and to your Polygon in kind of contributions as well. So thank you for that.
Of course, I had a great time. Thank you for having me. Great talking to you as well, George.
Great, Andrew. Thank you.